Hello and welcome to Friday's Granada Reports. We are live with the latest across the northwest.
Yeah, thanks for joining us this evening. Here's what's coming up on the programme tonight.
After a 3-year fight for freedom, Addidi is finally back home with his mum after his conviction was quashed. Now he's determined to help those who've been through the same experience.
Met so many amazing people who have got similar cases to mine, who've done nothing wrong.
After 59 days of evidence and hundreds of witnesses, the inquiry into Lucy Letby's crimes at the Countess of Chester Hospital wraps up. But what will it uncover?
9.5 years of Erling Haaland, the latest on the multi-million-pound mega contract for City star striker.
What's with the monkey?
It's the biopic that's caught everyone's imagination. We meet the little star of Better Man to find out what it's like to play a primate, Robbie Williams.
And we've been treated to some stunning sunsets and sunrises over the last couple of days. I've got all your weekend weather details coming up later on in the programme.
Well, first tonight, a young man has been reunited with his family after having his conviction quashed after his 3-year fight for freedom.
Well, on Wednesday, we told you about Addidi, who was just 17 years old when he was jailed for conspiracy to commit grievous bodily harm. He was handed 8 years in prison for sending 11 text messages in a group chat after his friend was murdered.
Well, before that, he'd wanted to study law at university. He'd cared for people with dementia and had never been in trouble with the police.
Well, he's now back home, reunited with his family after being released from prison earlier this week. He's been speaking exclusively with Tasha Kacheri, who's been following his case from the start.
How are you feeling? Whoa. Sometimes I still feel like, am I dreaming, you know? I kept on pinching him and like, is that Demola? You know, it's so good to have him back home.
You picture yourself every day walking out them gates. Even though no matter how long you got, you picture yourself walking out those gates. That's how you get by. And for that day to actually come, it's surreal. I packed my stuff so quick. I was ready to go, but I didn't want to go unless my mum was there, do you know what I'm saying? And it took a lot for me to walk out them gates because it's a new beginning.
Addi's best friend, John Soyoye, was murdered on the streets of Moston in 2020. Days after, Addidi was invited to a group chat. Those text messages, what were they?
So it was not a conspiracy to murder, and it was not a conspiracy to Section 18. We're just kids just talking. I was 17 at the time. I didn't know the power of text messages. You can say something that you don't mean, but if you're young, black, and perceived to be a gang member, it's a crime.
The conviction was secured on evidence including the group chat, a picture of Addidi holding cash to his ear, and a 9-second video with a boy in a blue bandana which the prosecution alleged was Addidi, and proof of gang membership. In his appeal, it was proven it was not Addidi.
You know, it's different when you have a child that has always been in trouble in school and all that, and you will be thinking, oh, you get in trouble. But this is a child, this is my son. This is the boy I raised. You know, God helped me to raise him. He's virtually done everything. Almost, nobody's perfect, but he's been a good lad. So this happening to him is just like, no, this can't be real.
Addidi was one of 10 young men convicted of either conspiracy to commit murder or GBH. He's the only one to have his conviction overturned. For him, being home is bittersweet.
It's not fair that I'm the only one out right now when we all went through the same thing. We all went through the same thing and they should be as free as me. I met so many amazing people who have got similar cases to mine, who have done nothing wrong and who are doing big sentences for crimes they've not committed. I feel like, why is it me that I'm the only one who is out right now?
The 21-year-old hasn't celebrated a birthday since before the pandemic. He's determined to make up for lost time and finish his law degree to help others.
So many kids in jail that shouldn't be in jail. Because now I feel like it's my turn to help these kids.
Tasha Kacheri, ITV News, Bolton.
Well, Well, earlier we were joined by Roxy Lagan, who runs Kids of Colour, a charity that supports young people from diverse backgrounds in Manchester.
Yeah, she's been working with Ade on this case and gave us her reaction to his release.
It was a great evening when he arrived back home. It was lovely to see how happy his mum, dad, brothers were, but of course it's very bittersweet for all of them as well, because they know some of the other boys and families, and for us as organisers it's been really difficult because there are others that we wish were coming out as well.
Does his experience show the dangers of, prosecutors using these conspiracy charges?
Yeah, I mean, I think his trial and the trial of all 10 of them has shown just how dangerous it is, but also it's very common. We know that these trials, whether conspiracy trials or joint enterprise trials, are happening routinely, and the racism that we see in trial narratives about young black boys is causing these convictions that are just so troubling.
Roxy, the CPS released a statement where they said that in Ade's case there was fresh evidence that allowed his conviction to be quashed, but the majority of convictions were upheld. I guess that would allow many people to say that actually there is a place for charges such as conspiracy or joint enterprise.
Yeah, I mean, I can't agree with that, I'm afraid. Addidi was very lucky someone came to court in his case to speak about this element of evidence that was mistaken identity. But I think that Addidi would have still been convicted without that video.
And Roxy, you feel that these conspiracy charges are disproportionately affecting black people as well?
Yeah, and it's not just a feeling. We know that from research. We know that from joint enterprise research in particular. While this case wasn't a joint enterprise case, the principles there are very similar, and you just have to look at research from the likes of Dr. Patrick Williams, Becky Clark, who've done a lot of work around joint enterprise that shows disproportionately how they're impacting black young people, and also disproportionately how the gang narrative is applied to black young people.
So what effect ultimately would that have on a person that has this charge levelled on them, and 6 months, a year, 3 years down the line it finds that actually there's no basis for those charges?
It's really difficult because that time isn't going to come back. Addidi and the other boys have lost a lot of their youth in the prison system now, and he's going to have to do a lot of work to kind of work through that.
So what would you like to see happen now off the back of Addi's case?
I would like the other boys to come out of prison. There are lots and lots of young people who are experiencing this and who we need to bring home as well.
OK, Roxy Lagan, who runs Kids of Colour, appreciate your time. Thank you.
Thank you.
Well, responding to the points made in that interview, Greater Manchester Police say a report commissioned in 2023 exploring homicide investigations found no evidence of any stereotyping or gang matrix was used to influence decision-making.
They go on to say that black people are disproportionately more likely to be an offender or victim, and victims are twice as likely to be black.
Well, next, after 4 months, thousands of documents and hundreds of witnesses, tonight the inquiry into Lucy Letby's crimes has heard its last evidence.
Yes, the inquiry held in Liverpool and chaired by Lady Justice Thirlwall will publish its findings later this year and may reveal whether Letby could have been stopped and, crucially, if lives could have been saved.
Well, in a moment, we'll look back on the key moments of the last few months. But first, let's cross live to Emma Sweeney, who's at Liverpool Town Hall for us tonight. Emma, what's the latest?
Well, the inquiry finished up today by hearing evidence from Professor Sir Stephen Powers. He's the National Director for NHS England, and he started today by apologising on behalf of the whole NHS over the events that unfolded at the Countess of Chester Hospital, the events that he described today as abhorrent. He said he felt there was a number of missed opportunities by individuals at the Countess of Chester, NHS England and elsewhere. He said they could have been more curious, could have asked more questions. Now, he also told the inquiry today that there are plans for pilots around the introduction of cameras on neonatal units, in incubators and cots, and that's quite significant because earlier in this inquiry we heard from one mother whose child was allegedly attacked by Lucy Letby. The jury failed to reach a verdict on that count, but she is calling for the introduction of cameras in cots and incubators. So, as you say, this now draws to an end 4 months month's worth of evidence. We're told it will be autumn when Lady Thirlwell issues her findings into this inquiry. She has an awful lot of evidence to go through. Some of that evidence my colleague Mel Barham has been taking a look back on.
I just want to offer my heartfelt condolences.
How truly sorry we are for the failings that led to the harm.
My condolences to all the families, and I'm really sorry for all the distress.
I would like to apologise for any personal failings
It happened on my watch as Health Secretary.
We've heard a lot of apologies, heard about countless failings and many missed opportunities. Since September, Liverpool Town Hall has been the backdrop for a public inquiry looking at how Lucy Letby was able to attack and murder babies at the Countess of Chester Hospital and what lessons can be learned. It's been 4 months of evidence and more than 100 witnesses, uncovering new details about Letby, the neonatal unit where she worked, and the experiences of her victims' families. Much of this evidence was never revealed in the criminal trial. Evidence like Letby's character, with colleagues describing her as cold, strange and uncompassionate. We learnt for the first time that Letby failed her final year student placement due to concerns about her professionalism and empathy. 2 serious nursing errors were also revealed. One where she gave a newborn baby boy 10 times the dose of morphine he required, a potentially fatal mistake, and another where she gave antibiotics to a newborn who didn't need them.
An audit at Liverpool Women's Hospital, where Letby did a separate placement, found baby's breathing tubes were dislodged at an unusual rate during her time there. Incidents were recorded on 40% of her shifts, when typically they'd expect them in less than 1%.
And another revelation from one of the consultants on the neonatal ward, Dr. Breary, telling the inquiry he believes Letby may have killed other children on his unit before those she's already been convicted of murdering.
It's likely that Letby didn't start becoming a killer in June 2015. I think it's likely that her actions prior to then changed what we perceive to be abnormal.
The inquiry's been looking at who knew what and when. Was there a cover-up, and what mistakes were made?
One doctor telling the inquiry that as early as September 2015, just 3 months into Letby's killing spree, nurses were huddled around a computer checking rotas for a common denominator.
I remember being quite shocked and thinking, oh, I agreed that it's an awful thing to think. I mean, it is the unthinkable.
But it would be almost 2 years later before police were called.
The barrister for some of the families of Letby's victims told the inquiry there were 5 basic failures from the period when Letby began harming babies. Firstly, the failure to conduct swift and careful investigations into each of the deaths. Following that, clusters of deaths and near-fatal collapses should have been immediately escalated to senior management, which didn't happen. Then, when investigations did happen, those overseeing them should have been thinking about the possibility of a criminal act. They should have had serial killer Beverly Allett in the back of their minds. There was a failure to tell the police and coroner about their concerns from the outset, and poor communication with the babies' families, including some parents not even being told their child had collapsed or that their deaths were being investigated.
There was a balancing act between a duty of candour to the families and a duty of care for Letby. We heard for the very first time at this inquiry from those hospital managers, those at the very top in charge of running the trust. These bosses weren't called to give evidence at Letby's criminal trials and resisted media interviews, so their evidence was highly revealing.
Letby's father was very angry. He was making threats, threatening GMC referrals for the doctors. He's threatening guns to my head and all sorts of things.
Much was made of managers being more concerned with the reputation of the hospital than patient safety. Consultants had tried to raise concerns about Letby, but the inquiry heard this was a hospital where a culture of fear and blame existed, with staff not comfortable with speaking out.
They were worried that their jobs were at stake if they stood up and said what they thought. And it was a genuine concern, wasn't it?
If that was how they felt, then yes, but I can think of nothing that was done or said that would have, certainly from my perspective, threatened their career or their standing.
You know, you said to me, why didn't you just stand up and tell everyone what you thought had happened? It's the fear of not being believed. It's the fear of ridicule. It's the fear of accusations of bullying.
But all the evidence has now been heard at this inquiry. In March, we will hear closing statements from each of the legal teams. But Lady Justice Thirlwell's reports and her findings on just what went wrong and what lessons should be learnt is not expected to be published until the autumn. Mel Barham, ITV News.
Well, in other news today, and a man who carried out a campaign of rape at knife point in Manchester city centre has been jailed for life. Stuart Thompson raped 3 women in just 3 hours on the streets behind Piccadilly Station in January last year. He was jailed for a minimum of 18 years after a judge said he treated women like pieces of meat and had no remorse for his actions. He will have to satisfy the parole board he is safe before he's released.
Tributes are being paid to the disability campaigner Alex Connaughty, who's died at the age of 19. Alex was from Maghull and lived with a rare form of dwarfism. He appeared on Granada reports many times throughout his life, and he set up Walking with Giants Foundation with his family in 2008 to support others living with the condition. His family say they're heartbroken beyond belief by his unexpected death.
Doctors on the Isle of Man say they are hopeful their planned strike action next week could be prevented. Members of the British Medical Association on the island are due to walk out next Wednesday as part of an ongoing dispute with Manx Care over pay increases. The union's calling for a 12% raise, which the local government says is unaffordable. But BMA negotiators say progress is being made to reach a deal.
I think there is definitely a change in mindset from previously being very closed and saying this is it, take it or leave it, to actually negotiate with us. So we are hopeful.
Right, time now for sport, and there's a record-breaking contract at Manchester City, isn't there, David?
Yeah, that's right. It's one of the biggest deals ever in the world of sport. It's the longest contract ever handed out in the Premier League, and it involves their star striker Erling Haaland. Well, he's signed a new 9.5-year deal to keep him at City until 2034. Now, it's being reported that he'll earn around £500,000 a week. If you do the sums, that comes to a whopping £260 million over the 10 years. Well, this was how the 24-year-old greeted the news on social media, posting a bizarre video of him doing the meditation goal celebration in the snow with the words, "Here to stay."
Yeah, I'm super happy. I'm proud. It's been like a dream these 2.5 years. And yeah, I'm going to stay for a long time. When I spoke to Pep, the best manager in the world, it's funny to work with him. It's hard, it's tough, because he demands a lot, but that's what I want. I want people to demand a lot from me. Yeah, I'm really confident that we can turn things around. I'll do everything to change things.
Well, Manchester City's women take on their neighbours Manchester United at the Etihad on Sunday as the Women's Super League returns from its winter break.
It's a great moment for a young kid to score an hat-trick for a club like this. In football, the life is like this.
Getting that winning feeling. FOW, sponsors of the Granada Sport Report.
To darts now, and a shock at the Bahrain Masters, where reigning champion Luke Littler has been knocked out. The 17-year-old world champion from Warrington lost 6-2 to the Welshman Gerwyn Price in the quarter-finals. No such problems for St Helens' Stephen Bunting, though, who's through to the semis. He'll face crew-based Luke Humphreys, who beat Stockport's Nathan Aspinall. And you can watch all the action live over on ITV4. Well, finally from me to the grassroots sports teams counting the cost after being left devastated by the worst flooding in their history. Volunteers are working hard to clear up the mess at Didsbury Sports Ground. It's home to a number of clubs, including football and rugby teams. Now, the 100-year-old side is no stranger to being flooded, but waters reached record heights after a nearby riverbank burst. A fundraising page has been set up to help cover the £100,000 needed to fix the damage.
When we got the phone call from the locals saying that the club's flooded on New Year's Day, we came down and unfortunately the river was rushing straight through the car park. And it's just shock. You already see that it was even worse than before. The highest it reached was 2 years ago, and that was about 1.5 meters below what it was this time.
It's absolutely devastating for the community, for the football, for the rugby, for the sports ground, the runners that we have here. It's been we've done a lot of hard work here to build up this club to where we are now. Because we're on obviously we're on a flood basin, so the insurance doesn't cover us. So the generosity of people that have been amazing to raise what we've raised so far on the Just Giving page, and we need more.
Yeah, so far they've raised 29,000. Good luck to them raising the rest. Who knows, maybe they could ask Erling Haaland for, you know, a bit of spare cash.
That's exactly what I was going to say.
They might think alike.
Have you worked out how much it is a day?
No, couldn't possibly do. I don't even think doing the meditation pose I could even work that out in a week.
Well, you'd be glad to know we have done the maths, Cheers, and it'll be about £70,000 a day.
Oh my lord, just a little less than you guys.
That'd be nice, if only. All right, cheers.
That.
Many thanks indeed.
OK. Now, thanks so much, David. Now, it's a movie that's got everyone talking. Better Man, the film based on the life and times of Robbie Williams, which has, believe it or not, got a monkey starring as the main role.
Yeah, it charts the up and down career of the Take That star, starting from his formative years. And tonight we're meeting the child star behind the primary school primate.
He is Carter J. Murphy from Failsworth in Greater Manchester, who already has turns on The Voice and Britain's Got Talent on his CV.
Our entertainment correspondent Caroline Whitmore went to meet him at his school, where he's the talk of the playground.
Hello, my name is Carter J. Murphy. I'm 10 years old and I'm from Failsworth. You can see me in the film Better Man playing young Robbie Williams.
I don't wanna rock, DJ.
Carter J. Murphy, we all need to remember your name, don't we? Better Man is out at the cinemas at the moment and it's breaking all box office records. It's huge.
I'm Robbie Williams.
You play the young Robbie Williams. How was that?
Yeah, it was really good. I like how it's been edited and like the amount of work they've spent on it. I spent like two years acting and the voiceovers.
How did you react when you got the part?
I was actually in the park with my nana and and what happened, my mum ran my nana and she went, "You've got the part." We all went, I went, "Oh my god, oh my god, oh my god." We were screaming, we just, it was chaos. Everyone was looking at us like, what are they doing? Yeah, I've got the part. I was just screaming. I was screaming.
Yeah, well, you would do. I'd scream with you. There's a lot of CGI in it, isn't there?
Yeah.
Like, I think Robbie's part is the face of the monkey.
Yeah.
What's with the monkey?
I'm in it, but it's not my face. I can tell that it's me because I look at myself in the mirror a lot of times.
Yeah. And talk to us about the premiere.
Oh, the premiere was amazing. It was in London. It was so good. There was like people who I've seen on social media. And
did you meet Robbie Williams then?
I didn't meet him when I was filming. I met him when I was at the premiere. It was the first time I met him. He was saying that like I was really, really good in the film and thanks for everything that you've done. And my friends were like, oh my days. Like I ran my best friend and he was like, yeah, you're looking sick, mate. Like because he was in my tuxedo.
My name's Kat J. Yeah, I'm really cool. I always tell the girls when I'm in school. The girls on me. She was a fool and she's looking at me like, what did I do?
Because we've also seen you on The Voice Kids and on BGT.
Pixie Belle has been really poorly, so we wanted to make a dream come true. Oh. BGT was amazing. I met all the judges, and The Voice Kids was amazing.
You're popping up all over the show.
When he got the part, we were shocked, weren't we? Like, yeah, we couldn't believe it. Obviously, he has been in a lot of things, but this is like the biggest. And I don't think, with Cass being so young, didn't realise how big it actually was.
To see my son stood there next to Rob Williams like that, like, it was a different feeling, honestly. I was overwhelmed myself.
How is it for you having Carter in your class?
Oh, it's a dream. He is just loved by everyone. He has that energy about him that just makes him Carter.
Which is your favourite Robbie song?
Rock DJ, that's a good one. I don't wanna rock DJ.
That one, I'll click with you.
Keep me so good.
The boy's got a bright future ahead, hasn't he?
Oh, what an absolute superstar. Right, let's take a look at the weather now. Here's Joe.
Why do I need a shower? I've been out in the rain.
The faster you go, the sooner you'll be out. You'll save water too.
United Utilities sponsors ITV Granada weather.
Thank you. Very good evening to you. We are rolling into the weekend and pulling slightly more cloud in over the next few days. It's going to be quite a raw, chilly feel to our weather through Saturday, Sunday, with the best of any brightness probably tomorrow afternoon. It remains fairly settled into the new week, certainly to start with, and will continue to pull very cold air in from the near continent, with high pressure just about holding on, keeping things settled and dry. But fronts out to the west are gradually pulling more cloud in as we go through the course of Sunday and into Monday. Back to the details for this evening and overnight. A few breaks in the cloud, 1 or 2 fog patches and a touch of frost, but temperatures in general should just stay above freezing tonight. A dry night to come, a bit more of a fresh breeze for Irish sea coasts as we approach dawn. On to tomorrow. First of all, the sun will be rising at 8:18 and it sets at 4:26 tomorrow afternoon. For many of us, a dull, chilly start to the day with fog around initially. Cloud begins to break up just a touch through the course of the day tomorrow. Bit of brightness here and there through the afternoon, some sunshine to look forward to, but do not be fooled, it will feel very chilly, so wrap up warm if you're heading out and about. 4 or 5 Celsius will feel a little bit colder than that in that breeze during the day tomorrow. Another chilly night to come, but generally dry tomorrow night. Sunday, we are pulling more cloud in across the northwest of England and for the Isle of Man, and we keep that cold theme both by day and night. Into the new week, temperatures could pick up just a little bit, and certainly for the first part of the week, high pressure holds on, so it's settled and dry. Perhaps more frontal activity moving in from Thursday onwards. Enjoy the weekend.
United Utilities sponsors ITV Granada weather.
I'm sure Robbie Williams' film Better Man is going to be a great watch, but I still don't know what the monkey's all about.
What is the monkey about? You'll have to let us know, or we'll get Robbie on.
Get him on next week. We'll see you next week. Bye-bye.
Have a lovely weekend.